Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Today's guest is Stefan Muller, who recently achieved the remarkable challenge of completing the 777. Welcome to the show, Stefan. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
I mean, we do have a lot of questions regarding you achieving the remarkable 777. If you could just tell us a little bit more about that before we dive deep.
Sure. So in March of last year, I had finished a 100-kilometer run, and this was in Italy. I came back to Dubai, and I was like, what's next? Like, I want to do something here. I want to do something bigger, kind of in my backyard, the UAE. And so I created this challenge called 777, which is running 7 ultra marathons. So that's 50 kilometers a day for 7 days in the 7 Emirates of the UAE. And so we kicked off the training in May last year. We had 7 runners in total doing this. And then we finished the challenge in end of Feb.
So you did say that it's a challenge. So have you ever encountered like barriers or challenges to the fitness, that you aim to address through your content?
Barriers in fitness, yeah, absolutely. I think we had like the challenges that I've sort of set for myself are typically quite big. And the work and the discipline and the dedication that goes into it is firstly extremely important, but it's also extremely difficult to do so, right? So we always have very clear training programs. We've got a lot of support around us, and all these things have been like super helpful to make sure we achieve our goals.
So as I've told you before, the show is that having everyone follow a very healthy lifestyle that is including fitness is not easy. So what are some key messages and advices that you would give to people who would want to pursue fitness?
I think the biggest advice I can give is to start small. I think a lot of people want to start too big too quickly. Like they want to work out an hour a day every day, and it's just not feasible when you're starting from zero, right? Like if you haven't worked out in a long time and you want to get back into it, I think doing maybe 10 minutes a day, right? Like just going for a walk or maybe doing a few squats, like starting small with tiny habits and then building up from there to make it something that's part of your lifestyle. Because I know a lot of people struggle with time management, for instance, right? Like they have their jobs, they might have family or kids or whatever else that may be. And I think just trying to squeeze things into your day and doing it in a very small way makes it a lot easier to move rather than to go big.
So when someone says that you have done the 777 challenge, to the mind it might seem like undoable. So what actually inspired you to take on this challenge and even create it and go for it?
So I think the first thing for me is I always set goals that are extremely big, and I want to accomplish things that people think are impossible. Right? And for me, when I first started training for the challenge, it was impossible, right? But like after 9-10 months of training, it became much more of a feasible goal. The second thing is, which is very important, we wanted to raise money for charity. So we partnered up with the UNHCR and we raised money for the refugee crisis in Sudan. And it was important because we get to voluntarily run, right? Like we choose to run while people all around the world are forced to run from their homes or from their families. And so for us, there was this strong why in terms of why we do it, and it was for other people. It wasn't just for ourselves.
So as well, speaking on the 777, it's very hard, of course, So there must have been, I would assume, a preparation process mentally and physically. So if you could just like walk us through the mental and physical preparation that you had to go through to be able to complete the challenge.
We were very lucky that we had really strong coaches. So we worked on not just running, we worked on our strength, we worked on our mobility, but we also worked on our mental health. Like we had amazing partners all around us that kind of helped us with this. So that was super helpful. And I think just in terms of a mental hack that I had, one was I never missed the workouts that were scheduled for me. Because if I missed the workout, I knew I was going to be further removed from achieving my goal that was happening in February. And the other thing is that I just didn't have any excuses. I was like, unless I break something or unless I snap something, like I'm going to do this workout, I'm going to do this run. So those are kind of like those are kind of the cool mental prep things that I had.
Well, in what ways do you believe that your participation in the 777 challenge inspired you to pursue your fitness goals? Sorry.
I think it was all part of it, right? I've been an athlete since I was like 6 years old. So for me, there's not necessarily like fitness is part of my life. Running is now part of my life. So it's something that I do. Like fitness is for me something I do on a daily basis. Like for me, movement is so important. Like moving every day is so important for your mental health. It's so important for your energy levels. It's so important for just general health and well-being. So it's something that I've constantly kept as part of my lifestyle, and not necessarily that 777 led to implementing that habit. It was just something that was always there.
Well, of course, after you have done with your, 777 challenge, you must have been so tired. So how did you overcome the fatigue that was, after the challenge?
That's a good question. I physically, I was okay. Like I didn't have any injuries or any pains or anything like that. For me, mentally, I was exhausted. Like I was just very tired for probably a good week. And I was very forgiving with myself, right? Like I knew that after running 350 kilometers in 7 days, the body wasn't just going to bounce back and like be ready to go back to work and like do all these different things. So I basically gave myself a week, maybe even 2 weeks actually, of let's just relax, take our time, eat well, sleep well, hydrate, like the basics of health. And I did that repeatedly for as long as it took.
So there must have, or I'm not going to assume, but would you say that was there a harder challenge than the 777? And if yes, then what is it?
For myself, or was there one that's before I did 777?
Or other than 777, a challenge harder?
So for me personally, I haven't done one or planned one that was harder. But I know you guys had on Evren recently, and Evren is firstly a very good friend, but he also his business, everybody's helped us with 777. He did obviously an insane challenge shortly after ours, and I take my hat off to him, right? Like it was just super impressive and definitely a lot more running than we did.
Yeah, I mean, we interviewed him. He was really great, explaining it and so on. But of course, like this is not the end. You know what I mean? Because like I feel like fitness people or people who are very interested in fitness and pursue it, they don't stop at a challenge. So what's next? What challenges are you looking for next?
So what we've realized over the last 9 months is that a lot of people are interested in running, right? 777 as a challenge is something that might feel very like inapproachable to a lot of people. Like if you see 777 and you see, oh, these guys are running 350K in a week, you can be like, I don't want to do that, right? Like I don't want to be a part of that. So what we're trying to do next is we're trying to continue to build our community of runners and start helping to train them for whatever it is that they want to set out to do, right? Whether you're running your first 5 kilometers, whether you're running your first marathon, like we're basically building out a community that has that as sort of ingrained within it. We're going to create training programs. We're going to have free community runs. And that's sort of the focus that I want to do now. Like I've done these big running challenges, and for me, it's kind of time to give back to the community, right? And to build a platform that people can be a part of, and that they can train and they can run for whichever goal they might have.
Well, thank you so much. Because like we are looking forward to see what you will be doing next, regarding like fitness and running. And that was the end of our interview with Stefan. So if you guys would want to go for a run, for sure, why don't you just try the 777 run? And of course, it's going to be, I'm not going to say that because I haven't tried it, but I think Stefan can for sure ensure that it is going to be a good experience. So see you next episode.